Alright boys, welcome back to another Maybe Lewis MMA UFC video. So today we're going to be doing my predictions, UFC Fight Night, Moreno Kavanaugh, UFC Mexico. Pretty shit card, but, it's what we got. Mexico threw a bunch of random Mexicans on this card, so let's jump right into it. First fight of the night, boys, we got Damian Pinas versus Schultz. So I'm pretty sure they're both making their debut. I think they're both from the Dana White Contender Series. I remember seeing Pinas, very aggressive type of striker. And Schultz, he's a pretty good grappler. He got that weird submission win on the Contender Series. He's more of a grappler, 5 wins by submissions, 2 knockouts. But Pinas, really aggressive striker. I remember Schultz, I think he fought Mansour Abdul-Malik on the Contender Series. Looked pretty decent in that one, but I don't know. His striking is very awkward, and I think Pinas is definitely more powerful and better at striking in general, where Schultz is better in the grappling. So I don't think Schultz will be able to take Pinas down or do anything with him, really. I think Pinas would probably just overpower him in round 1 and get him out of there. But two pretty good fighters, making their debuts against each other. I just think Pinas is better, striker, power. So I got Pinas probably finishing this in the opening round in round 1. So next fight, we got Erik Silva versus Francis Marshall. Now, I remember Francis Marshall from the Myron Santos fight, where I thought he won that fight. I think that was a robbery. He dropped Santos, was piecing him up on the feet. But, Silva, I don't know. I don't really know this guy, but it looks like he fights every 2 years or something. So obviously that's not good, and those 2 are losses. And Francis Marshall, I think his last fight was versus Myron Santos, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just check. Yeah, versus Myron Santos. But before that, had a pretty decent wins, but he has more losses. Well, I just think Francis Marshall is definitely the better fighter. He's younger, quicker. Just based off that Santos performance, I think he'll probably finish Silva. Probably happen like round 1 or 2, but I just think he's probably going to be too fast. Silva's pretty old. Fights every 2 years. It's never good. And Marshall looked really good versus a prospect in Santos, where I thought he won that fight. So, yeah, I got Marshall by finishing round 1 or 2. Now, this fight, we got Regina Tarin versus Ernesta Kareckaite. Now, Regina Tarin, she's making her short notice debut. Well, she's 7-0. Let me just search her up really quick, because I know this is very short notice for her. I think Kareckaite was supposed to fight, what was the girl's name? Montenegro, Sofia Montenegro or something. But Tarin, so it looks like her last fight, so it looks like she's a good striker. She has a lot of wins by finish with the striking. But she has a few submission wins as well. A couple decisions. And then Ernesta, let me just see her last fight. I think Ernesta's 6-1. I don't really know much about these girls. But her last fight, she had a split decision versus Nicole Cleary. And she lost to Dion Barboza. But she beat Carly Judice. Carly Judice is a pretty good fighter. But I don't know much about these girls, Tarin's doing this on short notice, Ernesta has been training for this one. So, Ernesta has a 5-inch reach advantage and also 2 inches in height. So, I'm just going Ernesta in this one by decision. I think Regina Tarin, she could be pretty good. I don't really know much about her, but I just think based off short notice, and Ernesta's been training for this one, obviously. I got her by decision. Now, next fight, we got Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Javier Reyes. So, Javier Reyes is also making his debut this card. I'm pretty sure he was on the Contender Series as well. Silva, last time out, lost to Miles Johns. That was 2024. And then, let's check this out really quick. So he hasn't fought in a while. Last fight was in 2024. This guy fights like once a year, but it looks like he skipped last year. He was probably injured or something. But Silva's a pretty good fighter. He's an old guy, getting up there in age, but he fought a lot of dogs in this division. He fought Peter Yan, he fought Lerone Murphy, he fought Marlon Vera. So, obviously he has a lot of experience, and that's Javier Reyes. Let me just search him up really quick. He's 22-5. Last fight was on the Contender Series. He got a round 1 TKO. But it seems like he's a striker. He has a lot of wins by finish. He has 10 by KO, TKO, 8 by submission. So, Silva hasn't fought in a while. He is at a reach disadvantage in this one. And I'm guessing Javier Reyes, I don't know, I was going to say Colombia, he's from Colombia, but Javier Reyes, I got him, I'll say by decision. De Silva will probably give him a good, Silva de Andrade, he's De Silva. He'll probably give him a good fight, but he's old, hasn't fought in a while, and Javier Reyes, obviously, he's going to be young, coming in with that momentum. He'll probably be a faster striker. He'll probably look to take Silva down. But, yeah, I'll go with Javier Reyes on this one by decision. Now, we got Battle of the Shitty Fighter. We got Cristian Quiñonez versus Kris Moutinho. Now, Quiñonez, last time out, he fought Barcelos. Lost that one by submission. He also got submitted before that by Kang. I don't know who that is, but he won his first fight by knockout. His debut by knockout. He has 10 wins by knockout, so he's a finisher. And then Kris Moutinho's horrible at fighting. Last time out got slept by Malcolm Wellmaker. And then he got knocked out in round 1 by Canetti. I don't know who that is. And then obviously that O'Malley one where he got just fucked up the whole time, pieced up. Both of these guys suck, but I do think Quiñonez is a way better fighter just in general. He has pretty slick striking. But Cristian Quiñonez, I can't pick Kris Moutinho. He's terrible. His chin got cracked last time out. I don't think it's there. I think it's gone now. Wellmaker decimated it. But Cristian Quiñonez, he's my first lock of the night. You know how bad you have to be a lock versus Cristian Quiñonez? I got Cristian Quiñonez by round 1 knockout. I think he gets Kris Moutinho out of there in round 1, gets that crowd on fire. But yeah, he's a good striker, Yeah, not much else to say about that matchup. They both suck. Now, next fight, we got the women's. We got Ailin Perez versus Macy Chiasson. Obviously, Ailin Perez, she's on a pretty big win streak right now. She beat Rosa, this girl, I don't know, Jocelyn Edwards. That's a really good win. But she's been on a, 5-fight win streak right now. And obviously, I think Chiasson last time out lost to Yana Santos, which isn't good. Yeah, I feel like Chiasson is good, but she just doesn't win her fights. I don't know how to explain it, but I think Ailin Perez will probably use the grappling in this one. She's really way shorter than Chiasson. She's 5'5" compared to Chiasson's 5'11" with a 6-inch disadvantage in reach. So if she tries to strike in this one, she's cooked. But she's a great grappler, so I think she'll just probably lay and prey on Chiasson. Might look for submissions, but I got Perez in this one by decision. Yeah, not much else to say about that one either. Pretty bad fight, not gonna lie, boys. Now the last fight, our featured prelim boys. Brian Gandra versus Jose Daniel Medina. Jose Daniel Medina is the featured prelim, boys. That tells you how great this card is. But Brian Gandra, obviously, 8-1, making his debut off the Contender Series as well. He had a first-round knockout there. He's a pretty aggressive striker, has some power, a lot of power. Obviously, Daniel Medina, I'm pretty sure, is like on a 4-fight losing streak or something. 3 fights since joining the UFC. Lost to Angel Reese, got slept by Gautier, and then got submitted by Todorovic. So he hasn't been getting easy matchups, obviously, but Todorovic was very winnable, and he lost that one. So Jose Daniel Medina is very mid. I think Gandra is going to get him out of there in round 1 by knockout. I got him, my second lock of the night, another round 1 knockout. Gandra is going to sleep Jose Daniel Medina. He has better striking. He's more powerful. And yeah, not much else to say about this one either, boys. It's a pretty bad card. Next fight, the start of the main card, we got Santiago Luna versus Angel Pacheco. I'm pretty sure last time out, Luna was making his debut. Let's check it out. Yeah, he made his debut at Noche UFC versus Lee. I remember him getting dropped in that one, but then coming back and getting that round 1 finish. Has a good chin. He's a really powerful and aggressive striker as well. Angel Pacheco is also a pretty good fighter. He has a lot of volume. He's a pretty good striker as well. But he lost his debut to Lohan. I don't remember that fight. I'm not going to lie, boys. But I just think Santiago Luna is probably going to be a pretty good fighter at bantamweight. He does get hit a lot, but I think Pacheco, I've seen his fight on the Contender Series. He gets hit quite a bit as well. Santiago Luna is my third lock of the night, boys. Another round 1 knockout. I got him finishing Pacheco in round 1. Pacheco, I think he won't be able to take that pop. Luna's really aggressive, and I think he'll just be in his face, and he'll get caught with something early, and just a fiery start to the main card. But next fight, this is a pretty good fight right here, boys. We got Imanol Rodriguez versus Kevin Borjas. Now, Imanol Rodriguez, this guy, I feel like he's going to be a problem at lightweight, boys. He's really good at striking. He trains with Daniel Cormier in the grappling. He's powerful, But Kevin Borjas is pretty good as well. But I think last time out, he lost his fight. Yeah, he lost to Sumadarji. But before that, he beat, I think it's Ronaldo Rodriguez, which has a pretty good win, And he beat he lost to Costa and Van. So Borjas, I feel like he could be good, but he's not that great. He hasn't been that great in the UFC. I think Imanol's riding high. He's 6-0. He's going to be looking for that statement win in his debut in his city, in his country as well. I got Imanol Rodriguez. Another round 1 knockout, boys. I think he's too good on the feet. He's really aggressive, really powerful. Kevin Borjas is not going to know what hit him when he gets knocked out. It's going to happen really fast, I feel. But, yeah, Imanol Rodriguez, I think he's going to be a problem at flyweight. He's a prospect I'm looking on. But, yeah, I got Imanol Rodriguez. Another round 1 knockout, boys. I think there's going to be a lot of finishes on this card. They stacked this card to where the Mexicans have very favorable matchups. But Imanol Rodriguez, I would say he definitely has the hardest matchup out of any Mexican on this card. No lie. Kevin Borjas is pretty good. Now, the next fight on the main card, boys. Edgar Chairez versus Felipe Bunes. Now, Edgar Chairez, I don't know who he fought last. He fought Vergara last, submitted him. Obviously, he had a war with Van in the Sphere. I think he dropped Van. But, Chairez losses are only to Van and Tyra. So, he's not bad. He's losing to the best fighters in the division. Whereas Felipe Bunes, I don't know. He's losing to guys like Estevam, Johnson, and he also got finished by Van. Chairez did way better versus Van. This is a 2 submission specialist, I'd say, but Chairez does have some pop in those hands as well. He's a pretty decent striker. But I'm going to go with Chairez by submission. I'm saying probably round 1 or 2. He's going to get Felipe Bunes out of there. Chairez is way better. He lost to Tyra and Van. That's his only 2 losses in the UFC, and they're fighting for the title next, so that should tell you a lot about Chairez. I think he's pretty underrated, but yeah, I got Chairez by round 1 or 2 submission. Now, for the featured fight, boys. This will tell you how great this card is. Daniel Zellhuber versus King Green. King Green in 2026 is our featured fight on a main card. I know it's a fight night, but boys, we got to do better than this. Now, obviously, Daniel Zellhuber, I feel like he hasn't been living up to the hype that they're trying to push on him. He lost to Michael Johnson last time out, where he was a major favorite. Obviously went to war in the Sphere with Ribovic, but before that he beat Prados, he beat Giagos, he beat Venata, but he lost to Ogden in his debut. So they're trying to push him, but he's been really losing favorable matchups, I'd say. Not that Michael Johnson was favorable, but they thought this was going to be his push where he's going to sleep Johnson and get him out of there. I thought he was going to knock out Johnson, but proved me wrong. Johnson still got some fight in him late in his career, but obviously King Green last time he beat Lance Gibson Jr., but before that, obviously, he was on a losing streak. He had lost to Paddy Pimblett, and then we all remember that Ruffy knockout, which was pretty bad. But Zell Huber is a really big favorite on this one. This one's kind of hard because Zell Huber hasn't been looking good his last few fights. I feel like he doesn't, like, I don't know how to describe it. They're pushing him to be better than what he is, really. He's really mid. But I do think Zell Huber beats King Green. A lot of people are saying King Green wins this one because, Michael Johnson beat Zell Huber, but that's two different fight styles. King Green walks with his hands down. He gets caught a lot. Whereas Johnson obviously counters a lot. He has fast hands. They're not the same fighter at all. But yeah, I think Zell Huber actually finishes Bobby Green in this one. I could see it going a lot like the Jalen Turner fight, honestly. That's what I'm thinking in this one. He catches him clean and just drops him and gets him out of there. But yeah, a lot of people are trying to say like, oh, Michael Johnson beat him, so King Green beats him. But two different fight styles, two different fighters completely. So yeah, I think Zell Huber, I think he gets this one done, round 2 finish, round 1. I think he catches Green with his hands down coming in, just like the Jalen Turner win. Now for the co-main event of the evening, boys, we got a pretty good fight. We got Chito Vera versus David Martinez. Obviously, Chito Vera been among the top bantamweights for a while now, but he's on a losing streak right now. He lost to Zahabi, lost to Figueiredo, lost to Chiasson. Whereas Martinez, just beat Rob Font in that short notice fight at the Noche UFC, and he had won his debut by knockout. This was tough because, as well, like, Chito Vera doesn't get going till late in his fights, and Martinez is going to be there the whole time. So this really depends on what version of Chito Vera shows up. And if it's the version that's been showing up his past few fights where he's just hesitant to throw and just doesn't look like he wants it. Because I feel like Chito Vera could have won that Zahabi fight in round 3 if he wanted it. But Zahabi just wanted it more, where Chito just wasn't doing anything really. Whereas Martinez, he's going to be blasting his leg kick. He's going to be blasting that side kick to the leg as well. His body kicks, he's very aggressive puncher. He's very powerful. It's a very tough fight for Martinez. Obviously, a big step up in competition as to Rob Font, where Chito Vera. But I got Martinez in this one by decision. Chito Vera he gets going too late. He gets very winnable matchups, but he just gets going way too late in all his fights for him to win. Whereas Martinez is going to be there the whole time, throwing that leg kick, throwing that side kick to the body as well. He's just going to be in Chito's face, I feel like. But if Vera comes with a game plan to where he's even remotely aggressive, he could give David Martinez a very great fight. But based on his last few performance, I just can't trust him right now. So I got David Martinez by decision, boys. And now for the main event of the evening, we got Brandon Moreno versus Loner Kavanaugh. Obviously, big step up in competition for Loner Kavanaugh. Just got knocked out by Charles Johnson in his last fight. And Moreno, to where he lost to Tyra. I think he beat Usyk before that, but yeah, I don't know what we're doing. This is number 6 versus unranked. I know it's short notice, but there's no way they couldn't have gotten someone to step in on this one. Like, I don't know, but obviously Moreno, aggressive striker, good at countering, good kicks, good body work, good grappling. He's very well been at the top of the flyweight division for years. I think he's a way better grappler than Loner Kavanaugh, but I think Kavanaugh might have the edge in the striking, with the power and the speed. Moreno does get hit a lot. I think that's where Kavanaugh is going to get favored, but due to this being short notice and also in Mexico, there's no way that Loner Kavanaugh has had the time to prepare properly for the elevation in Mexico. I feel like Loner Kavanaugh could do well in the first few rounds. I feel like he might even drop Moreno, but I think Moreno will be able to tough it out. He's very durable, recovers very quickly. We saw him get dropped by Pantoja and recover. We saw him, who else? I think Figgy dropped him as well. But yeah, I think this fight is going to get deep into the later rounds. I think Kavanaugh will gas. He's gassed a few times. I feel like he gassed versus Charles Johnson, which is why he got knocked out. And he also gassed versus, I think it was Felipe dos Santos in his debut. Oh, I don't know if it was debut, but it seemed like he was gassing there as well. But I just think Moreno will be able to drag him deep into the later rounds. Kavanaugh's going to gas. He'll do good the first few rounds, I feel like, with his striking. If Moreno mixes in the grappling, he'll just tire him out even quicker. But I got Moreno by late submission. I'm thinking round 4 or 5, Kavanaugh, there's no way. In this short amount of time, he's not going to be able to have the cardio for that elevation at Mexico. Moreno's going to have that pressure he always has. He's going to have his grappling. And this is a win-win for Kavanaugh, obviously. I feel like if he wins this, he's in the top 5. If he loses, he learns a lot. But yeah, I got Moreno by submission around 4 or 5. So yeah, boys, those are my predictions for UFC Mexico, Kavanaugh, Moreno. Let me know about your predictions down below. Let me know what you think about my predictions. And yeah, boys, I hope you have a good one. Hope you enjoyed the card. And peace.